In March of 2021, I set out north from Flagstaff, Arizona on Highway 89. I'd heard there were a series of public murals and enlarged photo prints that lined the roadsides of this sparse landscape around the Diné, or Navajo Nation. There was no map to guide me to the various sites that had been placed here for well over a decade now. Indeed, all I knew was that I could find some of the murals and prints alongside Highway 89 between Gray Mountain and Bitter Springs, and alongside Highway 160 between Red Lake and Cayenta. It's called the Painted Desert Project. As you drive along this empty stretch of road, you'll find the occasional abandoned building amid the desert. And I read that much of the art from the Painted Desert Project was purposefully placed on these abandoned buildings. They service to beautify the area, where otherwise would just be eyesores and reminders of what once was. I don't know if the artists received permission to place their art here, but I doubt whoever owns these buildings minds. The messages of this first piece became clear as I approached. There are detailed descriptions of the decades-long impact that uranium mining and the subsequent contamination from the mining has had on the region and the people. As you enter, there are more anti-mining messages plastered all over the walls, among other issues. Given the nature of the location, this handwritten note says to be mindful of the mouse droppings on the floor that may contain hantavirus. Keeping my eyes out for the next location, I'm left thinking about the draw of the images I just saw. They catch the eye, they beg you to pull over to get a closer look, and once there, it's not just about beauty. There appears to be another purpose: education and activism. The next site was expansive and confusing. At first glance, it's not clear if the artwork was placed on the structure before its partial collapse or after. It's also not clear how much of the graffiti all over the structure is officially a part of the Painted Desert Project, or if it existed prior to the addition of the prints, or even afterwards. This site felt very much like it was purposeful in its use of graffiti to complement the large prints. I cannot say for certain, but this ambiguity between graffiti and art I think adds to the intrigue amid the details. The large print that catches the eye from the road is this sheep on a bright pink backdrop.
Yeah, I think it's a print. It's been placed on top.
The name below it says Jetsonorama. This is the artist name for Chip Thomas. He is the curator and creator of the Painted Desert Project, but more on him later. This site also contains some familiar messages in the art, and I was beginning to sense a theme. Dismantle the system. Enemies of society. Remember who you are, Native America. I came upon the third site in this project with much more ease, as it was right alongside the main road and contained the largest prints and murals I'd seen thus far. It's an abandoned gas station with what appears to be a few abandoned shops around it. I found the name Daniel Jostley on multiple pieces, along with the name Caleb J. I don't know these artists, but I'm impressed with the diversity of styles they've implemented at this site. I also found the message persistence in arts multiple times. Again, the activism through art message appears to be fundamental to the Painted Desert Project. And this piece appears to be rather recent, with images of mask wearing, references to the pandemic, and dates in the year 2020. From the beginning of this journey, I had thought a lot about the fact that this art was placed purposefully on abandoned buildings. I spent some time here and saw firsthand what the art was attempting to beautify. I'm not sure exactly what this building was used for in the past, but it is evident that the artwork is not competing with any other interests here. It appears to have been abandoned much sooner than just last year as well, so perhaps the artwork came along after years of these buildings sitting idle. And the next site I found was very similar, but in this case, it was an abandoned motel, the Anasazi Inn, with almost a dozen individual structures in complete disrepair. I walked through a few of them to get a sense of the place. Around back, you can see that the location is beautiful, and I can imagine the incredible views former guests of this motel enjoyed. Forgetting the art for a moment, I became very curious as to why this place was abandoned in the first place. Here, I saw two large prints covering opposite sides of the motel, right alongside the road. One with a child wearing a mask made from an old bluebird flour sack, and the other with a man whose finger tattoos spell the word believe. At first, this site did not appear as overt in its messaging as the others, but upon closer inspection, a similar message of indigenous struggle can be found in this poem. The next location I discovered by accident. I drove right past it at first, but discovered it in my rearview mirror on the way back. It's much smaller, further off the road than the others, and partially obscured around a hill. The locations of these buildings, of course, is not up to the artists. They work with what's available. There's an abandoned corner store nearby, but the prints themselves are on two large storage buildings. In the distance, I could hear children playing, a reminder that this sparsely populated region does have an audience for the art beyond the occasional traveler such as myself. I'm sure those children have stood exactly where I'm standing now and have utilized this space as a part of their playground. I read that some of the artwork from the Painted Desert Project led to an increase in sales for Native American goods. Locals would set up shop nearby the murals and prints to sell products to travelers who stopped to see the art. I hadn't seen any evidence of this yet, until the next location. I had been driving for some time, and I finally came across these two large prints at a roadside stand. I had seen other roadside stands like this one throughout the day, some in active use, some seemingly closed temporarily, and others clearly abandoned. But none of them had artwork like this one, and it appeared to be in good shape, but I can't say for certain how long ago any goods were sold here. As a traveler, driving around with a keen interest in art, I can say with certainty though, that this stand stood out for me far more than the others given the large eye-catching prints on the side. It also appears in this case that the roadside stand itself may have been here first, and the artwork came later, but I'm not sure. Driving back towards Flagstaff now, I came across perhaps the largest site in the Painted Desert Project. Located in Gray Mountain, Arizona, the site even has a name: American Rent is Due. The activist messaging plastered all over this location became apparent almost immediately. American rent is due. No to racism. Are they not waging nuclear war when the miners die from cancer from mining the uranium? Power isn't brute force and money. Power is in your spirit. Power is in your soul. Let's be better humans. American crime. You are on native land. In his own words, Chip Thomas, creator of the Painted Desert Project, describes it as an effort to boost tourism on the reservation, to supplement the incomes of families with roadside stands, and to nurture the creative talent of local youth. In addition, he says these murals aim to reflect love and appreciation of the rich history shared by the Navajo people back to the Navajo people. But one thing about this site, and the others of the Painted Desert Project, that I think sets them apart from murals hanging in museums, or commissioned paintings on buildings in neighboring Flagstaff, for example, is the temporary nature of it. There appears to be no effort to keep any of these murals and large prints safe from the elements, or from other graffiti artists who might challenge the use of the space. However you look at the art from the Painted Desert Project, one thing is clear: beauty is only one small part of it. Activism, education, and changing the narrative on Indigenous peoples' issues is the true art that has been created here.